In the last big recession, one of these 5 businesses lost almost half its customers. Another one didn't even flinch, because its customers were never going to feel the recession at all. Same 5 ordinary buildings you drive past every single day. Wildly different odds of surviving the next downturn. So here's the game. We've spent the last 2 months on this channel taking these businesses apart on the numbers. And today we're putting 5 of them through the only test that matters when the economy turns. We're going to rank them from the most fragile to the one business so bulletproof you'd almost feel guilty owning it. Recession resistance comes down to one question. When money gets tight, does your demand fall, hold, or actually rise? And that's decided by 3 levers. 1 is what you sell a need or a want. A want is the first thing people cut. 2, when customers get poorer, can they trade down into you instead of away from you? The businesses people downgrade to in a recession can grow while everyone else shrinks. And 3, are you paid before the work or after? Money collected in advance can't be cancelled when the downturn hits. Score all 5 on those 3, and they line up in a very clear order. And the winner is not the one making the most money. It's the one whose customer simply cannot say no. We're counting up. Number 5 is the most exposed. Number 5, the movie theatre. On paper, it looks fine. We showed last time that the popcorn carries an 85% margin. But recession resistance isn't about margin, it's about whether anyone shows up at all. And a night at the movies is the definition of a want. The doors are already swinging shut without a recession to help. US admissions in 2025 came in around 780 million, down about 5% on the year and roughly 37% below 2019. The share of people going every month collapsed from 39% to 17% in just 6 years, and about half of Americans didn't set foot in a cinema at all last year. 2/3 of them blaming cost. Now add a downturn. The theatre's real problem is a fixed bill the industry calls the house nut. Rent, power, and staff that doesn't shrink when the seat's empty. Attendance is the one number that flexes. The costs don't. That's how a business with an 85% popcorn margin still nets only about 4%. And in a recession, even that gets thin. There is one mercy, the lipstick effect. In 2009, cheap escapism actually held up. A $15 ticket beats a $400 weekend away. But a small reprieve on a shrinking, high fixed cost want still lands the cinema at the bottom of the list. Number 4, the vending machine. The pitch is passive income, but we showed it's really a logistics route. And a route is only as healthy as the foot traffic underneath it. The average operator runs about 13 machines, each grossing a modest $309 a month, and every cent of that depends on bodies walking past. So ask where those machines actually live: offices, factory break rooms, schools, hospitals, gyms. In a recession, that's precisely what thins out. Layoffs empty the offices, shifts get cut, the foot traffic the whole model rests on quietly evaporates, while the route costs, the fuel and the driving and the restocking stay almost exactly the same. There is a small cushion. A candy bar is the cheapest possible treat, so the customers who remain still buy. But that doesn't save a machine bolted to the wall of a break room with no one left in it. Vending doesn't collapse like the cinema. It just goes quiet because its demand is chained to employment, and employment is the first thing a recession takes. Number 3, the budget gym. And this is where it gets interesting, because a gym should be a pure want, the first line item anyone cuts. Except the budget gym is engineered for exactly that moment. Remember the model. It sells far more memberships than the building could ever hold, around 7,000 members per club, and quietly counts on most of them never coming. Roughly 60% rarely show up, the price is set deliberately too low to bother cancelling, and a member who never walks in is almost pure profit. That same design is what makes it recession tough. When money tightens, the $10 or $15 charge you've been ignoring is the last subscription you get around to killing. And there's a second tailwind. People quitting their $200 boutique studio don't quit fitness, they trade down into the budget tier. Planet Fitness lived this in real time. It pushed through its first price rise in 25 years and still added members, finishing 2025 north of 20 million of them, on a margin above 40%. The catch is the deep end of a downturn. $10 is still discretionary, and the new click-to-cancel rules make walking away one tap easier than it used to be. So the gym is resilient by design, but not invincible. Number 2, the laundromat. And now we cross the line from want to need. Clean clothes are not optional in any economy, which is why the industry quietly posts a 5-year survival rate near 95% and openly calls itself recession-resistant. But it's better than just durable, it's counter-cyclical. Its customers are renters, the roughly 87% who live within a mile of the store and don't own a washer. In a downturn, that pool grows. People who can't afford a house or who get priced out of a building with in-unit machines become laundromat customers. Demand can actually rise while the rest of the street shrinks, and the cost structure is built for hard times. An unattended store runs with almost no staff to lay off. It's largely cash, and margins sit around 20 to 35%. The real asset isn't even the machines. It's the long 10 to 15-year lease locking in a cheap corner. The only thing that genuinely bites is its own utility bill. Water and power can eat a quarter of revenue. But a recession doesn't touch that. A need paid for every week by a customer base that grows when times get bad. Which leaves just one business that's even safer, and it's the one nobody wants to talk about. Number 1, the funeral home. Every other business on this list depends somewhere on how people feel about money. This one doesn't, because its demand has nothing to do with the economy at all. Around 2.4 million Americans die every year, in a boom or a bust. It is the most perfectly inelastic demand in business. A recession cannot postpone it. But that's only half of why it tops the list. The other half is the money machine underneath it, the pre-need contract. Families pay for their funeral years in advance, and that cash sits as a backlog. At Service Corporation International, the giant that owns hundreds of homes behind their original family names, that backlog is roughly $16 billion of revenue already collected, years before a single service is delivered, earning interest the whole time it waits. So the demand is recession-proof, and a chunk of the revenue is banked before the downturn even begins. The public leader runs a 22% operating margin on more than $4 billion in revenue, and the cemetery land quietly out-earns the funerals. The only real threat here isn't the economy at all. It's cremation, climbing toward 82% by 2045, slowly thinning the high-margin burial. But that's a slow secular tide, not a recession. Inelastic demand, paid in advance, immune to the business cycle. Nothing else on the street comes close. Line them up, and the real rule is obvious. Recession resistance isn't about how much money a business makes. The cinema's popcorn margin crushes the laundromats. It's about one thing: how easily your customer can say no when money's tight. It's a spectrum. At one end, a pure want you pay for in the moment, the movie ticket cut first. At the other, a pure need you've already paid for in advance, the funeral, untouchable. And notice what that means. The safest businesses on the entire street are the ones nobody brags about owning. Not the exciting ones, the boring, the unglamorous, the downright morbid. The cinema sells you a good time. The funeral home sells you something you cannot refuse and bills you before the fact. When the next downturn comes, the flashy businesses will be slashing prices just to survive, and the ugly little ones will barely look up. Now, if you're new here, welcome. This channel does exactly this every single week. It takes one ordinary business you walk past without a second thought and pulls it apart on the real numbers, the stuff nobody actually shows you. If that's your kind of thing, subscribe, and you'll never look at a high street the same way again. We've broken down all 5 of these in full, and the one I'd watch next is right here on screen. Number 1, the funeral home, and how it quietly banks your money years before it owes you a thing. And do me a favor, comment the business you want me to put on the slab next, and I'll add it to the list. Until then, watch the margins.